Explorers, welcome back to the Starfield Lorecast. It has been a good almost 2 months now that we've been out in the outer reaches of space exploring everything. And we have a very special episode for you because I'm here. This is Tom. I've got Dave. Dave's here too. Dave, what's up? How's it going?
Hey there. Hey.
Hey.
It's Fat Albert.
Hey. But we've also got our patrons. We're starting the show with a Fat Albert joke. That's where we're at. 100%. Okay, cool. Yes, we're on all cylinders here. We are flying through the universe. And we've got our patrons with us we're doing kind of a 2-ish month in review with some of our patrons. And we have like 11 patrons who are at least at the space pirate tier who could be joining us. But it's a busy week. We've got Halloween. This is Halloween Eve when we're recording this, unfortunately. So I'm sure a lot of people are busy. But we do have our two most devoted patrons joining us, Nova and Turbo Toboggan. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Here, I'm going to welcome each of you individually. Nova, how's it going? How you doing?
It's going pretty good. I'm enjoying Fat Albert over here and his funny antics.
That's just a classic. It's a classic cartoon.
I started this podcast with ice cream, so you know it's about to get real sweet up in here. You know what I mean?
Oh, real sweet
and creamy
and milky. And then Turbo, welcome to the Turbo. We were talking about going to bed drinking warm milk in the pre-show. Does anybody still do that? Do you do that, Turbo? I don't think you do. Do you?
I'm lactose intolerant, so that's a big no. I don't drink milk right before I'm going to bed.
You would just die.
He goes to the bathroom.
Oh my god, you'd keel over with spasms, and then you'd have to sit on the toilet for an hour. Yeah, I get it. Man, we're doing great today, everybody. I'm sure this is super entertaining for everybody listening to this podcast. But here's what we're going to discuss. I would love to hear, now that we are 2-ish months into this, what are some of your favorite things about Starfield so far, and what are some of the things that you would change? Dave and I have shared some of the things that we've enjoyed over the last, number of episodes. And then we've also pointed out some things that we wish was a little bit different. Temples and floating around 24 times in I won't go into it anymore. But here, let's start off with you, Nova. Nova, what things in Starfield are you gravitating towards the most? What things do you really, really enjoy so far?
So thank you for starting off with me, Tom. So I personally really do enjoy the way that a lot of the stories are actually presented to you. So the one that I'm going to point out is specifically the Ranger, introductory mission where you're going to that moon. I don't remember specifically what it is. I played this a fair bit of time ago, and so it's not fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
But
also, real quick, spoilers might come up, so just be aware if you haven't been through certain parts of the content of the game, some of the quest lines, things like that. Just be aware. It might be spoilery, but go ahead. So you're talking about Keela City, right? The Keela City Rangers?
No, it's after that. So
okay.
It's you kind of showing what you're made of, I guess. So it's after you go through the bounty list that the marshal sets you on, and then so you become the not apprentice,
deputy.
The deputy. Yes, the deputy to. I don't remember her name. Like I said, I played this a month and a half ago. It's not fresh in my mind, but. I muted myself. Sorry. You become the deputy.
I thought maybe you disconnected. Okay. So you become deputy, right? You
become deputy to a full ranger. And so you're sent off to this farmstead on one of the collective's planets who are experiencing some raiders or some weird activity. And you have to track down these Star Collective soldiers who have been harassing this farmstead, and I just really like the pacing of that though because of the story because it feels very Western to me. You're using the clues of the land, even though it's very broadly set out for you. You can see exactly where they're going because it's a muddy trench that they're walking, or it's actually a muddy canyon that they're walking through. It's like the Grand Canyon. There's mud on both banks because whenever it rains, it always gets washed out, and it is freshly washed out, and so everything was muddy. And you can follow their tracks exactly to fight off multiple of the creatures, and you get to the end, and there's a large confrontation where you can either talk them down or leave or fight them. And
what did you end up doing?
I had to fight them because I was being too brash, but and I didn't have good speak speech, whatever it's called in that game. I don't remember particularly.
Sure.
I'm more Fallout based, and so I remember Fallout terms mostly, and that's what I correlate it with. But anyways, though, so you figure out that the ship was stolen, so you have to go off to the corporation, tell them, hey, the ship was stolen, and then you go on this massive fetch quest. And that just really stuck out to me because it felt very organic to me, because sometimes when you go on these long quests, it feels like you're just being tugged along. And then storytelling, and then this happens, and then that happens, right. instead of the
MacGuffin just keeps moving, and you just keep following. Yeah.
The MacGuffin keeps on moving, but to me, this one felt like it was very bred into the story, into the world, and it didn't feel like I was being tugged along. It felt like I was actually going on this long investigative quest line to figure out what was actually happening. Why were these old Stark? What is this faction again? I'm blanking on it.
The Free Star Collective.
Yeah, it's a Free Star Collective. Yeah, I just want to say Star Collective. The Free Star Collective. Mm-hmm. Why were these ex-soldiers from the war still why were they just being mercenaries at this point? And what were they hired for? And how did they get the ship? And et cetera, et cetera. And so I just really enjoyed this quest personally.
Yeah, it gets into like Hope Tech stuff and the whole situation that like colonists are going through, trying to find places to live and live off the land, and the situations they end up with dealing with these big corporations who can kind of hold things over them.
And then also really good to get to the politics of the Free Star Collective as well, because like my personal view of the Rangers is that, they have far too much power, especially for the Free Star Collective, which espouses individualism, because they can just go onto your property and search without a warrant. That is like an invasion of privacy, and that is completely counter to what the Free Star Collective is for. But at the same time, though, then they're tiptoeing the line for a corporate overlord. And so the Free Star Collective itself seems to be a corporatocracy, or so it's not capitalism, corporatism would be the proper term. So they're not even capitalistic, they're corporatists, because their overlords are heads of corporations, and the council is all made up of people from corporations. And so it's not serving the people as a good democracy should. It is serving what the corporate overlords are wanting, and that is not always for what the people want. And so this really did it was a huge lore dump. I'm sorry, spoiler, but it is a huge lore dump. And kind of eye-opening. Is like, so the Free Star Collective, it says one thing, but then has an entire agency which can go counter to it, and it just makes you be like wondering, like, what else of these not really crony, but what else of these corrupt practices can they have? Because the Rangers are only accountable to the people who give them power. They're not accountable to the actual populace, say the police department is here in the United States. Yeah. Or even the SWAT, for that matter. Right. Like you can tell the SWAT to go away because they don't have a warrant. Just like, get off my property. Yeah. You can't do that to the Rangers.
Well, hopefully you can do that.
I think you make a good point. I mean, for kind of the feelings of the Free Star, like when you coming up with that, I was like, well, that's kind of similar to how U.S. Marshals are in the Red Dead Redemption games, because if you play
the Old West, right?
Like it's the Old West, and the Marshals are the ones that are like, some of them are good, but some of them are like, hey, we're a bunch of government men, and we want to accomplish our goals, and we will hurt whoever we can in order to accomplish them. And it screws with pretty much all of the protagonists of both of those games.
Yeah, but it also, both Starfield and Red Dead are pulling from actual U.S. history, where you have the Wild West, and they had to have some semblance of law. There were large stretches of land. Towns were very far away from each other. If something happened out in the desert, nobody might know. So you had volunteers, rangers in a lot of cases, and there was a serious lack of training and accountability. And many times, if you actually get into the history of who some of the criminals were in the Old West, many of them served time as rangers also. Like, they did both. So you're right. Like, and so much of what was actually going on in those situations in the cities, the building of the railroads, were all funded by these large wealthy magnates who controlled swaths of land and even would set up towns and then sell everything to the people who lived in the towns who they hired, and would set the prices because they were basically a monopoly in the area. So like these kinds of stories are very, very grounded in actual history, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. But two things to this. First of all, the railroads were funded by the government, and then the corporation just kind of made them very zigzag because they were paying by the mile. And secondly,
right, but it was the wealthy people who were calling the shots once they were out in the West. That's my point. My point. It's kind of like Ron Hope, like doing what he wants because he's out far enough away from the government or whoever might be actually
that
in
he
control.
runs.
Right. So regardless of where the money actually comes from originally, everybody's so distant and spread out that if you're wealthy and you got the power, you just do what you want.
Yeah. And so that was just kind of my takeaway, just one specific example, because like where they say one thing, but then actual practices are completely counter to that. And you can see the corruption that is bred into it, because like ideally you would have one system that is completely separate from completely separate and accountable to the people who oversee the other branches, which and then oversee itself, but are overseen by other branches in the government. You know, we have the three branches of government here in the United States, but for the Free Star Collective appears to only have the council, right, at least that I'm aware of, because I haven't gotten very far into the game, but at least I'm aware of.
It's kind of implied, right? That the council is the be all end all of how their system works.
Yeah.
And now you bring up a point about the Free Star Collective, but don't the other groups all seem to have similar inconsistencies in the way they project themselves, but then the way they actually run themselves?
I haven't actually explored much about the I'm blanking on the other faction now. I just had in my mind. I'm so stupid. I can't remember.
The United Colonies being the other major
UC,
one, right?
Yes. Yes. I haven't explored much about the UC specifically. I've been kind of just hyper focusing on the Free Star Collective because, you know, I take it one chunk at a time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But like to add on to your point, whether you've played through some of the other things or not, many of the other factions or groups seem to project some way that things are supposed to work, and then underneath. And so part of what's kind of, I think, interesting about this game is even though it's so full of hope and so full of, like, we talked about how it's generally a more positive and less dark kind of world for Bethesda for the first time in like forever, it still has that dark underbelly to almost every group. Every group is something a little bit more sinister than what they put themselves out there to be. And I think you're hitting on it with the Free Star Collective in that specific case.
Yeah. And I would love to go more into the UC, but like I said, I haven't looked into it enough personally, and so I can't give a good enough assertion, but I'm fairly certain though that they are more of a collective society where it's more like, to give a broad sense, it's more like European versus American. EC or UC would be European, Free Star Collective would be American, but they're not perfect analogies in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. That just like in my mind, a good way to kind of present them. But I assume there is a lot of bureaucracy within the UC, that there is just a complete stagnation for many different projects, and that you have to go through 5 different levels of bureaucracy in order to even get a water fountain for a school allowed. Right.
And of course, there's a huge rift between the haves and the have-nots and all of that
exactly.
kind of stuff. All right. So this has been a fun jaunt into like the politics and kind of the landscape of some of this stuff. And I'm sure Dave and I will be digging more into these things in the future. But here, let's talk about the flip side. This is the stuff you've really been enjoying, kind of sinking your teeth into. Is there anything that you wish was different in the games? Like, what would you change?
Let's see. What would I change? I really just suppose that that the distances between some of the things would change, because it feels like I'm bouncing back and forth between entire solar systems constantly just to complete one quest line. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of annoying to me, because like I would rather not have just I'm done here. I got this object. Now I need to go all the way back to the Epsilon Eridani system to drop this off at the Constellation headquarters, then talk to Sarah again or something like that, and then go all the way back out into the Freestar Collective again to go find quest item B or whatever.
Yeah,
because they realize this, and so that's really annoying to me, because it takes you out. And I understand that they're trying to be as realistic as possible, because you're not always going to have all the information on hand at all times. But at the same time, though, I feel like there could be a streamlined version of it.
So I think if you were to just draw a map, like the problem is that you go from point A to point B, back to point A to C, back to A to D, back to A, back to B again. And so it's like this back and forth thing. And a lot of it is going back to talk to the same person who gave you the quest in order to get the next part. Whereas it would feel more organic if you went from A to B, met somebody at B, realized, I need to go to C now. You don't have to go back to A and talk to the person who gave you the quest. You just follow the thread. So it's more of a straight line from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, rather than back and forth to your home base kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that has been my main gripe about the game, is really just the non-linearness of the play of the quest items, of the quest playthroughs, because it's been kind of just a headache. And that's kind of the reason why I haven't been playing it as much as I probably should be. I paid $70 for it. I'm paying $25 per month to be on a podcast about it, listen to a podcast and support a podcast about it. So, but it's been just kind of just a headache to even just go through and do some of the quest items. And I'm just like, I'd rather just be playing New Vegas or Counter-Strike or something like that right now, because my friends are doing that.
Right. And the fast traveling between them actually makes it worse, because it's like, okay, finish the quest, load screen, go talk to the person again, load screen, go to the next planet, load screen. Like you're just load screen jumping. It's like when you play Fallout or Skyrim or whatever, and you just fast travel.
And you're talking to Preston.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly what it'd be like. It'd be like doing a bunch of Preston's quests and just like going out to the new place you got to go fight off the bandits from, and then going right back to Preston, and then going to another place, doing the same thing, going right back to Preston, rather than continuing like wandering through the countryside, like finding the next cool thing, like following the direction that the quest has you go in, but then noodling around and hitting a bunch of other really cool stuff along the way. Because you can so quickly load from one planet to the next, it kind of gets rid of that middle stuff.
Yeah, and that's why the quest I started off with at the very beginning was my favorite by far so far, was because you went to this planet, you talk with a farmer, you had to trace along. It was, it's linear, like plot. Part A leads to part B, leads to part C, leads to part D, and then you go to Hope Tech, and then at Hope Tech you have to go through the entire dialogue tree and do all these other things and investigate the factory or whatnot and do everything else like that. So, you did one jump or two jumps actually to get there and then go to Hope Tech, but it was not like you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so that's what I really enjoyed about that quest. That's why it stuck out to me so much.
Yeah, I think even just larger locations, like obviously you land your ship anywhere and you've got like a 4x4 grid of the map of Skyrim, of area that you can wander around in, right? And so let's say you get a quest and it's like, you go check out this mining facility. Every mining facility, although many of them are similar or duplicates, because eventually you start noticing that, but each one is only so big. It's very rare when you end up at a location and you go, oh, this mining facility extends like half a mile back this way, and there's other quest stuff that don't require me to get back on my ship and go anywhere. I can just spend the next 3 hours searching this really big location and finding all the nitty-gritty stuff while continuing this quest, right? Like that would be really cool, like a big dungeon all in one place, or something the size of like one of the cities, but like there are multiple people to talk to, and that furthers the quest line without you bouncing back and forth, kind of thing.
Yeah, more in-location quests, I'd say, would be a very good improvement for it. So
yeah, I agree.
Just like you say, just going to one place, having a bunch of interesting quests, not like I need to deliver this package, be a courier for me. No, something that you have to go there, find this, do that, fight these enemies, then come back, and you're done with that entire quest line. That would be a huge improvement in my opinion.
Right.
Where instead of bouncing back and forth and all around the place and being very annoyed because you have to constantly get back into your ship, teleport across the teleport halfway across teleport halfway across the or grab jump of halfway across the entire Milky Way galaxy arm, whatever arm we're in,
sure.
I forget.
Right.
And then come back and do everything. That's just annoying to me.
Yeah. What do you, Dave, Turbo, what do you guys think about this? Do you agree? No, Turbo saying no. No, you don't agree, Turbo? You're cool with the whole jumping back and forth thing?
Well, my character is the what are the guys? The serpent guys. The
Veyron?
Yeah, I think that background. So every time I'm jumping, it's just incredible. I do that now. Like I'll go from planet to planet, just like my thing. Let's go back to the planet I was just at. Go back there, finish it up. I've been jumping all the time.
Like but when you're following like one series of quests, like one set of like quest lines,
I haven't been doing big quests. I've been actually exploring and stuff.
Okay, so you're taking a whole different, like you're not focusing on those quest lines at all. You're just
if I find a quest, exploring. I'll do it. But I have not. I like I'm saying, I'm still on my first playthrough. It's because like I'll find a planet, like, you know what, I'm here, let's explore, let's learn about this planet and stuff, let's build a base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more like how my wife plays. Once she's in a location, she's like, oh, I'm just gonna check out everything around here.
Yeah, like I'll explore and stuff. I like and stuff like that. So stuff.
Okay, Dave, what do you think?
I think my main issue with Starfield, and it's really the only issue I have, and it's really just a preference issue. It's talking about going those point to points, like when you look at design maps, like Skyrim's map, or
Dave this is what Dave does. Like you are a professional
for my day job,
right? Map maker.
And so like the density of those locations, like you can just like go off in a direction. And then like you can say, okay, the main quest is I'm in, other city and I want to go to Diamond City. So I know that I want to go there, but there's some other stuff in the distance over here to the corner that I kind of want to do as well. But then on the way to do that other stuff, you're going off and you're finding other things. To me, like there's a great thing that I miss about this particular system is really like the Skyrim and Fallout hiking system that is in the game. Like you are just like on a hike, you're doing your thing. And I think that kind of like misses out in this game. And I think about like sci-fi properties that do the travel pretty well. And when you think about like Star Trek, like most of the episode is like, okay, we're going to jump to light speed. Now we're all going to get up and we got things to do. We have like our day job. I got to go talk to this person. We got to go down to the medical bay to check on this. Like there's a lot more to do with the journey to these other planets. Mm-hmm. So I think that Starfield kind of misses that exploration. I think that they've cast this wide net so that you can go down to any planet and have that procedural generation. But is that something that I really want to do? Not really. Like I want to go find good quests. Like I want to go out and find stuff, but I have to really make a point to do that instead of the things just kind of like tipping the scales and going over here and looking at me. A great example is, the Fallout 76 map of it being just like kind of cartoonish. So you can just see things in the map of like, oh, there's a vault here. So I know that there could be a vault over here, or, oh, there's like a little town pictured here. Let me go over there and check that. Like it's less detailed than like, oh, these are the POIs. This is everything like mathematically laid out. There's a little more interest in that. And so it's kind of hard to look at a bunch of stars from far away and think, oh, this is interesting to explore. But that's not taken away. I think the game's great, but just the exploration part, I'm kind of let down on, I would say.
Yeah, it's like you have to just go pick a planet and be like, or pick a star system and just be like, well, I'll go see what's over here. I don't have any sense of it. Rather than hey, I'm 3 quest lines into this big quest tree, and I know I have to head north on the map. And while I do that, 7 other points of interest and things happen to me on my journey to get to that place. because of the fast travel, you skip all that middle stuff, and then you're just there, and now you're just grinding. It feels like you're just grinding the quest conversations for the most part. You don't usually have to do a whole lot of combat unless that's that one part of the quest where you end up fighting somebody, and then you're just back to grinding conversation again because you're just jumping back and forth, right? And then if you don't do that, to your point, you're just picking a planet, you're picking a system, whatever, and you're just like, okay, what's here? And for the most part, not a whole lot. Like you land in a place and you go, oh, there's a little colony here. Oh, I guess they're having an issue. I'll deal with it. Oh, there's a broken down facility over here. Oh, there's a crashed ship over here. Cool.
They talked about in one of they did an interview with one of the previous developers for Starfield that worked on a lot of the story and a lot of the different stuff. And he's retired. He worked on like the super old Elder Scrolls games and had been there at Bethesda for years. He said that there was a version of this game where it was just like pretty much contained in a single solar system. Like to me, like, you know, if I'm playing the Monday morning quarterback and I'm trying to figure out, you know, what would be best for me, I mean, that sounds really cool to me. Like seeing all the systems
more dense.
They come up with, more dense, kind of like, you know, I want to know what's going on like, so you got Sidonia on Mars. What if there's like an Elon Musk character that's out there that's making these like Terra globes, or everybody can like, there's
right. Well, rather than Mars having like 2 or 3 locations that are worth visiting, it could have a dozen all dotted across the planet, and some of them close enough to each other that you could actually run from one to the other. And then you end up with more actual exploring in one location. I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. Let's open this up to everybody. Do you all think that we might see some of that stuff get filled out through DLC? Like, what if we end up with like, oh, this is the Mars DLC, and all of a sudden we've got like 7 new points of interest and some really cool stuff to do just on Mars, or whatever.
I personally really do hope so, because like Mars was a massive disappointment for me, if I'm being honest. That's one thing I did want to talk about, but I just couldn't fit it into the conversation I was doing. But I was running with what Dave said. Mars, I thought I was 100% sure when the game was going to be the new Earth. Like they were going to just use that to build up on. It was going to be like cities all over it. There was going to be many different points of interest, but instead it's just this boring red planet.
Yeah, there's like one hole in the ground with like 10 different places you can go in it. Yeah,
I don't understand that. There was so much good opportunity with Mars, like where you could actually build. Oh well, like this is Olympus Mons, the capital city of Mars.
Yeah, and the terraforming has started, so you might even have like small little lakes, or whatever.
Exactly.
Some plant life growing in some very specific places on the planet. That could be really cool.
I'm not sure I would go that far, but I would say like they could have like massive biodomes with the lakes and stuff inside of it, because I don't know if it would be practical to terraform actually Mars, because Epsilon Eridani, the planet where New Atlantis is 10% larger than Earth, so it has the magnetic field and everything. Mars is like 20% smaller than Earth, I want to say. So I'm not sure it has the gravity in order to sustain the atmospheric pressure and everything. But anyways, I was expecting these giant biodomes with actual cities inside them, or maybe a city made of individual biodomes where you have like the broad street, which is one massive long biodome, or multiple like consensual biodomes that are parallel to each other that are like streets, and then each one of those has a district or a block inside of it, and each one of those blocks is one big biodome of buildings inside of it. That's what I was expecting on Mars. Instead, we get a subterranean vault, and I was very upset with that.
Yeah, that's basically what it feels like. Yeah, and then there's a big old mining facility right next to it, and that's about it.
Because it's just massively depressed, and I was thinking Mars should have been the capital of the ECs.
Yeah. I'm sure some people would debate that, but it would be cool to see something like on that scale for sure. Yeah. Whether it's the capital or not,
at the very least have masses of ruins where originally they were trying to build this, but all of a sudden these cities started collapsing for one reason or another, whether like that be pandemic or people just moved away, and so the cities were abandoned or something like that. Right. Because Mars would make the most logical sense to move to for the next planet, because it's right next door. It is close enough to Earth gravity that people won't have to adjust. It has masses of resources, so you could basically start all over again. But instead, no, they made it a backwater.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's always reasons for those decisions, but I think we can all agree that like having more developed, more dynamic, and more things to do on a quest line in one location would all be favorable. This has been fun. We need to take a quick break and thank our patrons. So let's go do that. And then we're going to come back. We're going to dig into Turbo Toboggan and find out what he's been enjoying and thinks should be different. So don't go anywhere. All right, here we are in the middle of the show, and thank you again to Nova and Turbo Toboggan and all 19 of our current patrons. Thank you for being here, and I have to shout out Commander Marcus Shepard, who couldn't be here tonight. I hope everything's going all right, Commander, and I hope you'll be able to join us on the next one. And then also Worst Action Hero, our 2 Space Lords who get shout outs every week. Thank you so much for all of your support, and if you are interested in joining this Patreon in order to get things like ad-free episodes and t-shirts and stickers and join us for chats like this, head over to patreon.com/Starfield Lorecast and go check out everything on there. There are pictures of t-shirts. You got to scroll down a little bit because it's a few posts back at this point, but you can see all the cool stuff that you can get. Also, if you'd like to help us out by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, if you leave a 5-star review, we'll read it out on a future episode of the show. And thank you to everybody who's done that so far. It absolutely helps. Even if you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, those reviews make it out to other places on the internet. Google uses them. A bunch of other podcatchers use them. So even if you just have an account and you'd like to do us a favor, that would be huge. Also, you can rate the show on Spotify or whatever other podcatcher you're listening to this on, and you can tell your friends. All of that stuff helps keep this going. So thank you so much for your support. Let's move on with the rest of the show. All right, we're back. And Turbo Toboggan, you seem to be the most explorer of the group, of the 4 of us so far.
Wanderer.
You're the wanderer. You like to roam around.
Yeah.
From town to town.
I've actually played that song from because I'm like, you know what? I feel like I just should have had like an old timey Fallout radio going like, I'm the wanderer.
Yeah. So, okay. So what is, if you were to talk about something that you have been enjoying the most about Starfield so far, what is it?
I just love that there's the world of Starfield. I love the setting. I should say the setting, because they could add more stuff. I just love just wandering around because you'll see them like, hey, can you help me? One of our crew member has gone AWOL. Can you go find him? I'm like, okay. I just found him. I found this guy in the middle. I thought like he's probably chasing the guy. I turn around. He was talking about himself.
Wait, what? The guy who sent you on the quest to find his missing crew member was the guy who was the missing crew member?
Yes, I found him. I'm like, he's like, he tells me to go look for the person. I go look for the person. The place they sent me to was the camp. He eventually shows up and says, "Thank you for finding our missing crew." I'm like, what the?
That's super weird. I'm not sure that was supposed to happen like that.
I think it's like the things you find like while exploring. Like I think it was 2 things cross-setting. Like I think it generated a crew member game missing. And then the guy that was supposed to do the quest just happened to be that person that I got.
Or like it duplicated him as both, maybe like there were 2 of them.
Yeah, the same character model.
But it was the same character model.
But
that's weird.
I love that. Like I'll just be walking around. Someone says, "Hey," I will walk up to like a mining thing. That says, "Hey, can you help us do some? We got a survey. Can you help us do?" And like I know it's a fest quest, but it then puts up a cave in my system, which then helps me find minerals on the planet, which helps me get my surveys and stuff.
Okay, so I get where you're going with this. The finding the little quests on the locations, tying into getting all the survey stuff, getting whatever materials you're looking for on that planet, and then do you also build when you're there?
Yeah, I have I don't have a lot of enter. Is that the right one? The one that goes a different system, but I've kind of colonized, used all 6 of my bases on this one system. It's right next to like Wolf. It's like Naron. One second, I can pull it up.
It's okay. The specific name doesn't matter. What I find interesting about this is that you are colonizing multiple places. You're building like the Turbo Toboggan Federation or something out there.
And it's like as if it's like the red. Is that the name? Red Fleet.
The Crimson Fleet.
Crimson Fleet, not Red Fleet.
Crimson Fleet, is a color.
They show up in the system.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all my people, like, you might want to walk back out because we got like a lot of C-class ships. You're going to be destroyed with your little A-class. Like, go back out of the system.
Okay.
And I've even helped a system do that. I've even helped, like, I was just running around like this little mining. Was that guy that's in the bar? You first fleet, is that you help him try colonizing?
Which bar?
He's in the bar on Mars.
Okay. All right.
The guy with all the paperwork, and he says he loves doing the paperwork.
Okay.
That guy, when he gives you the quest about finding habitable planets for people and convincing them to colonize.
Right.
I forget what they.
Yeah.
I even found people that they had gotten to do it. I found a little group, and it's like these 3 families. Mm-hmm. And it was 4 originally, but one family got killed and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
I even found that. Like, I've been just exploring, finding like these little missions and stuff.
Yeah, so you're living the life of this, like, I don't know, this space vagabond who's like...
Yeah, I used to be a miner, and then I found this artifact, and it's changed my life. It's like, I can now, instead of being stuck underground, boom, I'm up in the stars, just explore. It's like that kid that's always been stuck on a planet. It's like, one day I'm going to get off this rock,
like Luke Skywalker,
explore.
Right?
And it's like I've done it. It's like why? It's like I know it's important to get these things. I even have a couple artifacts just on my person. Haven't gone back and tournaments. Like, why would I do that? I am living my life. It's like this person. I'm playing my character as this. They're now finally free. It's like I have the things. I just not gonna go turn them in. Like,
This is so interesting to me because like Nova plays the game a lot like I play these games. I like find the quests and I'm like, okay, I want to do this faction. I want to learn more about them. I talk to everybody, learn the quest stuff, check out the locations, kind of soak in a little bit of the lore and a little bit of the situation. Then I go out and I do the quests and I bounce back and forth and I kind of knock through it pretty quickly, make my decisions, figure out like, am I gonna be nice to this person? Am I gonna be mean or whatever, right? And then I just get through that, and then a few hours later I'm done that quest line, and then I'm off to do something else. And sometimes in between I'll go explore something. I'll do a little bit of this or a little bit of that, some other little side quests, but then I'm on to my next like major quest line kind of thing, right? Dave, do you basically play like that?
Yeah, it pretty much a good middle ground between all the different stuff when I'm typically playing this. But because I kind of knew about the New Game Plus situation, I think that I rushed it to get through all the faction quests and took all the stuff because I was like, I gotta see what's at the end of this game. And so I ended up doing that. But my second playthrough on New Game Plus has been much more of that, like, oh, I'm going to do the quest. I'm going to find out what any quest I get to. If somebody's like, hey, go talk to little Ditzy May over at the bar, I'm going to go do it. Even if it's just like fetch me 3 waters, it could, like, some of those have ended up being pretty cool stuff.
Right. But like Turbo is completely playing this game in a very different way. This is almost a different game for you because you're just like, I'm just going out there doing my thing. Whatever happens.
I hit that mission where it says Sarah's like, I'm going to accompany you, and I kind of just, instead of going straight to that, I kind of just like exploded. Like, I've just been going
wherever you feel in the moment. You're not like trying to. I feel like that's actually a very natural way to play a game like this. And part of the problem is that we've all played so many games that we see it as a game. We go, oh, this is a quest line. This is a faction. Like, we compartmentalize it rather than just kind of finding our way through the game, which is probably more like how we all originally played Bethesda games the first time we tried to play them, because we didn't realize what the formula was yet. And you're the one that's actually staying true to that.
Yeah, I could romance both. It's actually been so long traveling with Sarah and now Barron. Like
Barrett, yeah. I
could romance. I can romance both of them. I've turned both of them down. I've built up so much friendship and stuff with them, just wandering around. That they're like, hey, we kind of Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm sorry, Sarah. I've always thought, because the whole time I never once flirted with her. It's just been friendship, and it's like, I'm sorry, this is just friendship to me.
This is one of those like relationships where like the girl is like, I mean, you're my best friend. And you're like, cool, I just got friend zoned. You've been friend zoning your companions.
Yeah, it's because every option option pops up is flirting. I'm like, I don't want to flirt with her. I already have I already have a character. I know I want.
We're just friends. We're just friends. Game, chill out.
Yeah, because I met her and I'm like, I want to talk to her and stuff.
That's great. That's great. All right, so I've got a good sense of how you're playing it and what was really resonating with you. What would you change?
There are a couple things I would like to change. It's some of the characters they say because. Wix exploring, sometimes I'm out there for a while, so I pick up a lot of minerals. Especially when I'm building my bases. I'm on that planet. I'm like, okay, I need to go build, and I'll have a lot of weight on me because I'll take all before I build my landing pad. I'll have all the resources on my ship. I'll pick it up and put on me, so I'm out there building it, and they can constantly complain about, hey, you have too much stuff. Let me put this under. I'm like,
right.
I know I have too much stuff. Can you please be quiet? I'm trying to build a base here.
I can clearly tell I have too much stuff by how slowly I'm moving right now.
Yeah,
chill out.
Like, or I'm on my. I've got finished clearing out a place. I'm walking back to my ship, and they're complaining like, yeah, well, it's like yeah. I'm taking all these guns from the bad guys. I don't want to leave them there for their friends to pick up. I'm going to take it and sell it so we can pay for stuff. And it's like they just constantly complain about
so it's the number of time, it's the amount of the times that dialogue comes up specifically, right?
Every time I'd pick up an item, as soon as I get overweight, they start popping up. It got a little annoying, and I may have broken my game because when I go back to the place where the lodge is, like that planet Gemini, is that what it is? Gemini?
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah.
I don't I fall through the map now.
In New Atlantis, you fall through the map?
Yeah, and I can actually see through the map now. They're like right before you get to the landing pad, there's three like little struts. It's like there's a hole and you fall through, and I fall through sometimes on the dirt near the trees.
Weird.
I fall under the map, and I've now lost shopping the ship guy. You know that shopping thing next to him?
Yeah.
I've now lost that. That's despawned.
What? Okay. That's super weird. I think
my exploring and doing stuff is starting to break some of the game side. That's why I've started going to the main quest. So I think I may have...
Weird.
Because I think the game's trying to fix some... Because I think I've seen some stuff that you're not supposed to see till later on.
Okay. Weird. That's so weird. Okay. All right, so just like some of the companion stuff and how often they respond to you, and then also some of the glitches that you've come across. Those are things that you would wish are a little bit different. My character will glitch
and just fall through the map sometimes. It's like mine's not more story changing because I've liked it because like I just been. If I was trying to play just like you guys are, I probably would find the world a little bit less. But I'm just like wherever I go.
Yeah, I get it. Awesome. Okay, well, man, some really interesting insights. I was like a little bit concerned today that we didn't have more people joining us, but both of you have given some very interesting descriptions about like what you were enjoying and what you'd want different, and completely different play styles. And I have a feeling that this is kind of a spectrum that a lot of people who listen to the show can probably say, yeah, I fall a little bit more like on this side or more on this side with it. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, a lot of people are probably coming into this game with maybe a preconception of how they've played previous Bethesda games, maybe how they play RPGs. But I mean, from what everybody's experiencing, it seems like that most folks that are really staying with the game are taking their time and are allowing themselves, once that rush of excitement is over, this becomes a game that you're going to play for years, like Skyrim. So yeah, it's exciting to hear more, even 2 months in, kind of off 3 or 4 months, what else we're finding, what else we're doing.
Some of the crazy new game plus stuff that I've seen revealed that I haven't experienced. Some of the like, hey, I'm on new game 7 and oh my God, this thing happened. Has anyone else had that? Like some of those stories I've heard are pretty crazy. So there's definitely like some depth to multiple playthroughs, if you could even call it that. On some level, the new game plus it's like a multiple playthrough, but it's not at the same time because there's still new content on occasion. It's it's this weird amalgamation that I don't think we've experienced in games before. So, yeah. Crazy stuff. Well, guys, we got to wrap up the episode. Thank you for joining. And here's what we're going to do. Each of you can share some other projects or things that you want to shout out, or just say, hey, thanks for being here, or, whatever. And then we'll wrap it up. Nova, let's go back to you. I know you've got a YouTube channel. Why don't you share some info about that?
Yes, I do. It is Supernova on YouTube. So that's a capital S, lowercase UPER, capital N, 0, capital V, capital A. Look for the golden retriever icon. By the way, I do not sound like this on my YouTube channel. I sound more curated because I have a blanket over my head and it looks kind of weird when
yeah, you use the blanket like sound buffering thing. Yeah,
yeah. So stop the echoing from the background because I am currently in the attic of my house or upstairs of my house. Mm-hmm. And so it's
a little cavernous
walls, as you can hear, and so it echoes a lot. So I sound a lot better. But I just posted a video just over a week ago about the sociopathic scientists of Fallout. It's really more about the corporations. It is a part 1, but I also just posted a short 2 days ago about Easy Pete. I'm starting to get into those, and so I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice.
So I can start
Easy
posting.
Pete.
Yeah, go Easy Pete. I can't do the voice right now.
He's an old prospector.
There you go, prospector. Blow yourself up and touch my dynamite.
Yeah, the dynamite, yes.
Yeah. So that's mostly what I've been working on. I am going to hopefully by Friday finish a video about Sunset Sarsaparilla. So
Sunset Sarsaparilla.
Sunset Sarsaparilla.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing really. Nothing else beyond that I'm afraid to report.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's
totally cool for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And then Turbo. Normally you're like, I don't have anything, but I'm on the Discord.
I don't have anything. I'm just on the other podcast, so go listen to those.
Yeah, he's supports multiple shows. So thank you. You both do. So thank you for all of the support and for being here, making time for this on a holiday, like the early holiday thing. I don't know. It's weird. It's on a Tuesday and we're Monday night, but whatever. Dave, you've got Rad Rolls. You've got stuff.
Rad Rolls campaign 2 of the Fallout 2D20 game starts soon. I think we're actually taking next week off, but it is happening. It's an original setting. It is created by the group, and you will hear all of that as we start it leading into the holiday saison. And that's on all YouTube podcast services, all that fun.
Awesome. Yeah, go check out Rad Rolls. And of course, my other shows. If you're into Fallout and Elder Scrolls, there's Lorecast for those. Mass Effect, Lord of the Rings. Everything is over at robotsradio.net or whatever podcast you're listening to this on. So go check out. There's other stuff out there. We've got lots of awesome content. And thank you again for joining me, everybody. We'll be back next week, Dave and I, with another lore episode. So stay tuned for that. And until then, stay safe out there. Hope you have a wonderful Halloween. And we'll see you next time.
Listening to the podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this show.
Did you know that parodies are copyright protected?
Tell a friend and review
on iTunes
or other services. Dave and Tom excited for Starfield. Let's all speculate and wear no shoes.
Hey, why aren't we wearing any shoes?
Because shoes rhymes with iTunes, and that's the best I could think of.